Plasky, Page, Gutierrez, Blackstone. Today, LeBron and Russ. Simone versus Wisdom Teeth. And whether a Houston strip club is hanging James Harden's jersey from the rafters because he put up such big numbers there.
Dropped a lot of dimes.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reale.
We'll get to that in a second. David Price. Boston Red Sox put him on the disabled list today. He had an MRI in his elbow yesterday. It's said to be some inflammation in there. He was supposed to pitch today at Fenway Park for the first time since some more extended and sordid details of the team flight blow-up with Dennis Eckersley became public. Team president Sam Kennedy didn't mince words this week when he was talking about it. Said Price owed Eckersley an apology. So ATH alum and Boston Herald columnist Ron Borges encouraged fans to boo Price today should he had been available to pitch. That's out there as well. So, Plashke, taking all that into consideration, what type of situation do we have here in Boston?
It's a very uncomfortable, unsettled, kind of a nasty situation. We know David Price doesn't like confrontation. We know he doesn't like criticism. We know he doesn't like to be ripped by sports writers, so I can't imagine he would want to go out there and be booed tonight, which they probably would do because, again, he so rudely treated a great Hall of Famer. We also know the teams use a 10-day DL this year a lot of times for emotional reasons. You see this all over the league. Pitchers who just need a break or just need a rest because it's only 10 days, they get put on the DL. Mm-hmm. So it seems very coincidental that he's put on the DL right before this tumultuous home start in Fenway Park. I'm not saying anything's up. He's had elbow problems before. He gave up 5 runs in his last start to the Angels. So there's both sides of the story. It just seems weird.
So you're not saying anything's up, but you're calling it coincidental, which to my ears sounds like you're saying something is up. Kevin Blackstone, is this coincidence or more than coincidence for you?
Well, it may be more than coincidence, and it's certainly problematic. I mean, let's take a look at this situation. Apparently, Price got in it with Eckersley in defense of one of his teammates, and according to the story, his other teammates applauded him for, I guess, going after Eckersley's criticism of his teammate. But then, we're just a couple months removed from the ugly incident early in this baseball season where Adam Jones reported racial slurs being spat at him from the stands in Fenway Park, where people were escorted out because of it. It became a big national story. We talked about it on this show. So to come out and then call for people in Boston to teach David Price a lesson somehow tonight were he to show up seems to me to be over the top and really putting Boston back in a bad light.
We'll bring in Israel Gutierrez here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. I agree with all that. But I do think that David Price has probably been sort of woken up a little bit to his bad idea of an attack on Dennis Eckersley. Yes, he was applauded by some teammates. And yes, a lot of players in these baseball clubhouses, it's every single day with the media. It feels like they develop a thinner skin, honestly, than other people because it's all the time. And so, yeah, he had this great idea. He was applauded by teammates. And now, when it's outside of that echo chamber of that clubhouse, you've got a lot of people telling you, yeah, that was rude. It wasn't very adult of you. It wasn't the way to go about it. And frankly, it was something that you were overly sensitive about. He was not ripping on his teammate as a human being. He was just looking at numbers and saying, yuck. People have bad months, bad seasons, frankly, bad careers sometimes. And it's okay for, even if you're being paid by the team, to go ahead and point that out. So I think David Price has probably sort of looked at it maybe from a different perspective, but I don't think he's that much of a weak-minded player that he's going to sit out just so the home fans don't boo him.
Let's look at it from the team perspective here, because the president of the team, Woody Page, Sam Kennedy, was really seemingly taking Eckersley's side in this and not Price's. Your view of it?
Well, he said someone needed to apologize, and he did. I agree with Bill. It's very suspicious that they would pick this timing to put him back on the designated list. I just think that it's been used all year long, and Bill would know the Dodgers have used that 10-day new rule this year more than anybody in the league, and it's been used as punishment. It's been used as a way to place players instead of sending back to the minors, and I think they're using it as punishment. If you want to know my opinion, that's exactly what's going on here. That they said, if he's not going to apologize, we're going to put him away for 10 days. We don't want the booing to go on at Fenway Park. As Kevin brought up, we've had some issues there earlier in the season. So I think there's a great deal surrounding this. And this is not just disappearing with one news cycle. It's been going on now for a week. And I think Price is going to be in a bad spot the rest of the season. Because
exactly, Woody. I mean, it's not going to go away, right? At some point, he's going to have to pitch at home.
Yeah.
Plashke, you want to address that?
I could totally see Price and management sitting down and saying, you know what, let's just let this cool off. Let's take a little break on this. And by the way, it'll help your elbow while we're at it. I can totally see all that happen. Or they say, you know what, let's just get away from this for a second.
By the way, they're in first place, but I think at this point it's half a game, and you need every start now from the guy you're paying to be your best pitcher. We're horned. We're going to move on. This LeBron James, Russell Westbrook story. You ready for this? Training together in Las Vegas this week, we knew it was LeBron and Derrick Rose, and we knew Eric Bledsoe was involved and Chris Paul. Now we're finding out Russell Westbrook's in Las Vegas working out with LeBron James as well. So commence conniving, Israel Gutierrez. Are you connecting dots here?
It's never nothing when it comes to LeBron James. There's always something there. And when you talk about whether it be working out with Derrick Rose, obviously his new teammate. You talk about Eric Bledsoe. Yes, they share an agent, Rich Paul, but it's also the rumored deal that maybe be going to Phoenix for Kyrie Irving, going to Phoenix for Eric Bledsoe. With Russell Westbrook, if you look at what the Lakers have going for them next summer, they're one of the very few teams that are in great position to not only bring in a LeBron James, possibly another max player, and maybe even trade for another with a couple of assets. There could be a situation where they have a Miami-like team where they get a LeBron James, a Russell Westbrook, and a Paul George, and still have Lonzo Ball on his rookie deal. Of course, the rest of the team will be gone. But you get those four players in one team, and you're the Lakers, it could be the biggest of the big threes.
So to give us the headline here, you think chances of a LeBron James, Russell Westbrook team in the future, we're talking 1 year from now, what percentage?
I'd give it like a 33% chance.
Woody Page, how about you?
Well, Israel, we know what he believes. We know what Bill's going to say about them going to the Lakers. So let me put me in the middle of this. This sounds to me like a Game of Thrones kind of situation going on here where all these players meet. They start plotting and planning and talking about getting together.
Pretty good one, Woody.
They've been on Olympic teams before. Why not? Let's go to Phoenix and we'll gather there next year. I think it's quite possible. You want a percentage on it? I think it's better than 50%. I do think that they all look upon the Warriors
50%.
as the team to beat. They're the Yankees of old, and now they're in the situation saying, let's get our own powerful Supermax team together and let's beat them. I think it could happen.
Bill Plashke?
Yeah, all summer long, the Lakers have said we want to keep 2 max contracts open for next year. Also, they could have traded or tried harder to trade for Paul George. They did not. Everybody's assuming Paul George is coming here. You know what? They could be holding that spot. I really believe this. If LeBron wants to play with Westbrook and vice versa, they can be holding those 2 spots for LeBron and Westbrook. I don't think they can fit 3 guys under their salary cap. It'll be 2. But they would love Westbrook to come home, LeBron to come out here. Seeing them play together, players collude all the time now. Players decide where they're going to play. If these guys decide they want to play together and they call the Lakers and say we want to play in L.A., I think it could be done. So I think chances are, seeing them together now in Vegas, chances to me are more than 50% that this could happen in L.A. next year.
Kevin Blackistone, how about you?
Wow, how intriguing is this? It's a great story. It's kind of like one of those Marvel comic book superhero stories where a bunch of people coalesce, right, to take down some evil giant that's like taken over. And the Warriors have turned into that. And that's what these guys are doing. And I believe that, is this Banana Boat 3.0 that we're looking at here? That didn't quite come together, but you know what? This is something that's percolating in this gym.
Gutierrez after the horn.
Don't forget the Luke Walton factor. I think a lot of these guys look at that team not only and see Magic Johnson in the front office, but see a guy in Luke Walton who would run a fun team and a fun offense and obviously got to know a lot from the Golden State Warriors, so there's that element too.
So it's not Banana Boat because this is Las Vegas, so it's got to be the Las Vegas equivalent of that, right, Kevin Blackistone? So it's got to be, the blackjack table or something like that. Speaking of Las Vegas, Israel, you're on the way to Vegas after today's show. Look at that. velour.
I'm always ready, though.
Velvet jacket with the black satin and the pocket and is that a V? You're wearing a V-neck too.
Okay, can you just stop?
We're in Miami and you're wearing velvet. It's got to be 100
nice
degrees in July at this point. But
because I can, Tony. Because I can.
We'll move on. Odell Beckham Jr. quote highest paid player. Period. He told the Uninterrupted. He's not just talking about receivers. He's talking about players. Period. Anyone want to guess who the highest paid player, period, this season is?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr's not right. No. Israel, you said Joe Flacco. You are correct. $24.5 million. Beckham's at $1.8 million this year. That's 43rd highest paid receiver, period. And 539th highest paid player, exclamation point. Woody, is Beckham the highest paid kind of player type of guy?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so when I initially heard that, but it wasn't. But 5 years ago, that Larry Fitzgerald was the 5th highest paid player in the entire league. We all tend to think of quarterbacks have got to be number one, but here's how I think it could happen. They could give him enough guaranteed money that they could make him the highest paid player in 1 year combined on bonus and annual salary. I mean, when you look back, nobody in the history of the NFL has ever had as many catches and as many yards over a 3-year period as Odell Beckham has had. So I think it's quite possible that the Giants could do that, and they could signal a start of another diva era in wide receivers. We had Des Bryant, Antonio Brown, and Demaryius Thomas here that are all making more than $17 million, being guaranteed in the $40 million range. It could happen. I think it could.
Plaschke, he's making, well, it's not 117, but those guys are making $17 million a year. He's making one and change right now, Plaschke. How should Beckham feel about that, and what do you think of him saying he wants to be the highest paid?
Well, he should definitely be the highest paid receiver. There's no question what he's done, the impact he has on the game. He'll make a lot of money off the field, too. But what I'm impressed with is that you notice how he's doing this from camp. He showed up at camp. We have Aaron Donald out here looking for a new contract, not in camp so far as this telecast. So I think that the fact that he's willing to show up at camp and make this happen now, they haven't started negotiations, but they will. He deserves every penny of it. He runs that. He runs that team.
KB.
Well, I like the way that he is forcing us to rethink the pay structure in the NFL. You know, we just talked about NBA salaries over the last few weeks, and in the NBA, the best players are paid the most regardless of their position. The NFL, however, it's the exact opposite. We expect to pay quarterbacks the most just because they're quarterbacks, regardless of how well or how poorly they play that position. And so I think he's got a very good argument. Do I think he's the best player in the NFL? No. Do I think he's the best receiver in the NFL? No. I would go with Antonio Brown or I would go with Julio Jones. But at some point, we need to rethink the structure of salaries in the NFL.
And after the horn, Danny Ocean.
I'm not so sure about that, Kev. I think he's the most valuable person to the organization, to the franchise. But in terms of wins and losses, he is not the most valuable player because it's harder to get the football to him. I'd argue you could pay a running back that has that kind of impact more money because it's easier to get him the football. A quarterback, an offensive lineman, at least a tackle. Those are all more important than the wide receiver. He should ask for quarterback money and then just end up being the highest paid wide receiver. That's how these things.
Is there a position that's more dependent than wide receiver? I mean, he's dependent on the man who's throwing him the ball.
Maybe kickers.
Yeah, I would guess, but they're not in this conversation as far as.
I think a bad quarterback look good.
I showed up for a round.
They can, but a
Miami
good
Vice
quarterback more often than not can make them look good too. We're gonna take a break right here. Buy or sell is next. Stick around.
Buy or sell.
I don't do a John Gruden impression, so here's producer Aaron Solomon.
Let me tell you what, man. I've met with several people. I won't deny that. People just about every year I talk about coming back to coach, man. I'm not in here every day at 4:30 or 4 in the morning watching pinball. You know what I mean, man? I'm preparing myself to come back. I am. Every day I'm preparing to come back.
Bill Plaschke, buy or sell Gruden as an attractive hire as a coach? Still.
What if I told you I had a coach that had 11 seasons and only six winning records, a 95-81 overall record, won one Super Bowl? That's Gruden. That's Gruden. He's not the all-star coach everyone I think thinks he is. He's become a mythical figure by playing one on television. I'm not so sure how attractive he is after all these years.
Woody Page?
I disagree. He turned down 3 opportunities during the offseason. Bill, you know that he's had maybe 7 or 8 chances over the years. I think people are attracted to him because of the Gruden's camp, because of what he does on Monday Night Football. I think there's going to come a point where he really wants to come back to the game, like Parcells did, for instance.
Gutierrez.
I think this is my Gruden impression right here. Anyway, no, I do think he's still an attractive coach. I do think he can be. I mean, if you're sitting there being an analyst, a color guy on Monday Night Football or any football, you are diving into film. You are still looking at the details of the game. It's not like you're just doing a studio show and kind of working around highlights. So you can get that itch again. And you
listen to the shade from Gutierrez sitting in Plasma 3 on studio show analyst. Very interesting. Kevin Blackistone, how about you?
Yeah, he's still attractive. He's still got that Super Bowl ring. He's almost the face of coaching now. All the fans listen to him and watch him. He's breaking down film on college quarterbacks. This is a guy who you could sell to your fan base. Absolutely.
I always thought about that, KB. The face of coaching is interesting, but Belichick out there, I don't know if I would agree with that, but I thought for a long time John Madden, who was only a coach for such a short period and was a broadcaster for so much more, was still, capable of probably coaching a good game and being very, very popular as he was. Yeah. Fire Cell 2, let's talk about the Cowboys signing running back Ronnie Hillman. Jason Garrett says it has nothing to do with a potential suspension of Ezekiel Elliott. A multicolored goatee, Josh Brolin-looking newsman, doesn't seem to be buying that. Garrett's week included that and also a whole lot of Lucky Whitehead. Woody, buy or sell Garrett this week?
I'm selling him. He's had a bad week, but all he's doing is channeling whatever Jerry Jones wants him to say, and that's the problem that gets him into is we don't trust him because we think that's coming from above him. And this is another example, just like in the Lucky Whitehead situation.
Israel Gutierrez?
No, I'm selling it. I mean, Jason Garrett, as somebody at that press conference where he kept repeating the same thing over and over again, said, you're insulting our intelligence. And he kind of is. He's basically trying to channel his inner Nick Saban, his inner Bill Belichick, and become that guy. Well, it's pretty obvious what's happening. You're not fooling anybody, so you might as well come with at least a kernel of truth.
We don't believe you. You need more people. Blackistone, how about you?
Well, as my one-time sweet mate Tim Calishaw so astutely pointed out, you've got two veteran running backs there already, in McFadden and Morris. You don't need Hillman to come in there unless you believe that your other guy might disappear, in which case that would make him insurance.
Sweet mate. Huh?
I want to hear more about this sweet mate.
Who was top bunk? I got Were you guys roommates? Is that what I'm hearing here? You lived together, or were you just sweet mates
we were in the
office?
same office together.
Oh, okay. You mean in the office? All right. Go ahead, Flashkey.
You said sweet, and I thought something entirely different. No, I think I agree with KB though. I think obviously they've heard something about Zeke not being eligible to play. Something's going on. They would never have brought in Hillman with all the running backs they have. They've had a bad week over there, kind of a misinformation kind of week.
Fire Cell 3, you. Darvish. Rangers are telling teams they plan to trade him. Make a quality offer, please. He's a free agent in 3 months, so it's a rental. His last start, 10 earned runs. Israel, buy or sell the Rangers trading Darvish as they're still in the wild card race, and would it be a risky rental for teams interested?
Yeah, no, I'm buying them trading him. I mean, there are still 3 teams between them and that second wild card spot. At some point, you have to be realistic with what you can do. And if you look at him, through June, he was great. In July, he's been really bad, a 7+ ERA. So maybe there's something that they know that the other teams don't. So, yes, it would be a risky rental.
Well, wouldn't all the other teams know it if his ERA is public knowledge, though? I mean,
that part.
Everybody saw him give up 10 runs on Wednesday. Blackistone, how about you?
You know what? He's still got one of the most unhittable sliders in the league. He is a lead dog down there. They're still in the hunt. I would not let him go to anybody. I mean, you got to have something to build around, something to go out for fans to come out and see.
He is a perfect starter for the Dodgers playoff rotation. The Dodgers need to make this move. Yes, he's struggled, Izzy, but he's been distracted surely by trade talk. For the first time in his career, he's never had people talking about it like this. The Dodgers need to get him now. They need to trade him
Who is surprised that Flashkey said he needed to go to the Dodgers? Who among us is surprised? Woody, do you have any words? Or you're already in showdown. Why waste the air? Please, you can decide.
The Nationals.
Mute him.
Yeah, I'll just take a pass.
Right.
You can't let him do that. You can't let him do
He
that.
doesn't have to.
He's got to play.
What about the Dodgers?
Flashkey, have a great weekend. Blackistone, have a great weekend. Woody, Israel, showdown, next.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, When you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Paige Gutierrez showdown. The Golden State Warriors have signed Antonius Cleveland, undrafted free agent from Southeast Missouri. People have noticed his last name is Cleveland. Woody, are you sensing any ulterior motives?
Oh, sure they are. They're having some fun. If I were the new Cleveland general manager, I'd go out and hire Golden Tate and the Road Warriors wrestling team and just have some fun and get back with them. Yeah.
Maybe if there was a couple of Clevelands on the roster, as if, hey, we've beat this team twice or something like that. These are the Warriors. They're light years ahead of everybody else. This is a lame joke, if that's what it is.
Golden Tate. All right, I'll give you the point. We'll move on. Showdown 2 from the Joe Budden podcast. A Houston strip club has retired James Harden's jersey hanging in the rafters of the club because he spent so much money there. In other sexy time-related news, Ben McAdoo has been giving the Giants veterans a pep talk about an old, thought-to-be washed-up lion from the Mexican circus in the 1970s that moved on to a California safari and fathered 33 lion cubs. Israel, what's the sexier story?
Listen, nothing about Ben McAdoo makes me think of sexy time. I was uncomfortable listening to every word he said about that lion. It's easily the Harden story. I mean, come on. You get your jersey retired.
Oh, you are so wrong. That lion was in his 70s. He's the only guy here that ever went to Lion Country Safari and saw Frazier. You got to realize, to have 33 children in your 70s, that lion doesn't sleep tonight.
Wow, that's more backstory and inside information than I thought we had on this lion story. Frazier's his name? Wow.
Yep.
Woody Page, take the FaceTime.
I don't know whether you guys have heard about the story, but it's enjoyable to me. A man broke into the Sally League West Virginia Power team, minor league team, and stole $4,000 worth of equipment. Well, the only problem was he also stole the hitting coach's jersey and put it on. So the police found him on the street. He was taken to the police station, and he said he wanted his mugshot taken in the jersey. So the police were nice enough to let him do that. He's got a baseball card now.
Thanks, Woody. 71 half-hour break. See you Monday.